Today, we are sitting down to walk you through what we believe are the 4 fundamental pillars to building a successful D2C brand. These are the exact principles we follow to hit the numbers we have achieved in a short period of time, and we truly believe that if you apply them with intention and strategy, you will accelerate over time. They will give you the clarity, structure, and momentum needed to become an exceptional founder. We will be covering the 4 following pillars: product and niche, validating a product or niche which has potential for scale, direct response marketing, to sell your product to anyone today, omnichannel presence, to create visibility everywhere, and the last one is retention, to build a brand with returning customers. We only learned these lessons 2 years ago when we made a decision to go all in on D2C and direct response, specifically in the US market. And in today's video, we will guide you through each pillar step by step. Hello YouTube, today we have a different setting because we're gonna outline how we actually have achieved the revenues we have done over the past 2 years with our D2C brand. So here's Ola, my business partner, me, myself, JJ, and we are in e-commerce for about 5 years right now. The first 3 years we just focused on white label dropshipping, but we knew this is not gonna make us rich and we don't make a positive impact in this world. So we made a transition to a brand 2 years ago, and successfully, because we accelerated over time and we have done 100 million in revenue in the first 16 months of existence. And today we're gonna talk about what we have actually followed in order to achieve this. So what are we gonna talk about?
Yeah, so in this video today we're gonna map out our playbook, how we achieved 100 million in revenue in under 16 months. So we will divide it in 4 core pillars that we think are mandatory in order to achieve this. So let's start with the first one, and this one is actually product and niche. So of course it's very important the product which you are going to sell, the niche that you are in, and some things that the product has to have in order to scale it to certain amounts, apply it to specific channels, and also have different kind of creatives implemented on this product. So let's grab a new one and make sure we will talk about the product in the new one. So product and niche. So what is for you very important for a product and niche to have?
Let me outmap it. So first of all, I do believe that you always need to look in a niche where you're basically solving a problem, right? Because that is eventually what sells the best and how you can really express that into your marketing efforts. So I would focus on a niche or a product which is problem solving. Yeah. And yeah, you basically could relieve the challenges your customers are facing, or you could help them, or basically providing an entire solution for the problems they have.
Yeah, and product solving can of course be on different things. It can be a very emotional problem. It can be a problem that people have on a day-to-day basis. And in every niche and with every product, it solves a certain problem. So it is super important to do great research before you pick a specific niche. So definitely problem solving is super important. Besides that, I think it's also important to know, okay, the product needs to be evergreen. This is pretty normal what everybody wants, like an evergreen product, but it is also mandatory that eventually you will build your niche so you can have seasonal drops. So for example, if you are selling fashion as an example, you can have a summer collection, but you can also have a winter collection, and this way you can play in on certain seasons, and you can also create a hype around why people need to buy your product, especially in this time.
Yeah, to give a quick example. So for example, we are in the footwear space, and we basically, footwear is evergreen, right? You have winter shoes, but you have also summer shoes. But we basically had only like evergreen shoes, which were for everyday uses and you can wear them all year round. But we also had winter shoes in our collection. But one thing was missing, and that was the summer collection. And what are you wearing during the summer? Indeed, slippers and sandals. So what we did recently, we launched a sandal collection successfully, and we're gonna scale it the upcoming 2 months. And then 22 of September, when the summer ends, we know that paid performance will drop significantly. And what's gonna happen then? We're gonna advertise more of our autumn products and slowly into our winter products, because the season is around the corner. Yeah. So aside problem solving and evergreen, what are one of the other things you need to validate?
So they definitely need to have certain emotional triggers. So the product needs to unlock certain emotional triggers at the customer. So this can be very diverse for each audience. For example, if you are in a beauty niche, or if you want to scale a product within a beauty niche, you will unlock especially confidence, right? People are gonna probably look better, feel better, so they're gonna be happier. These are all emotions that you can unlock by selling this specific product. So I think emotional triggers is very important. Also, what needs to be really important is the simplicity of the product itself. So you don't want to, like, of course, you can advertise a very difficult product, but in our opinion, you don't want to start like with a gadget, for example, that is going to change the way you wake up. I don't know, something like that, because then you of course have to develop it. There's so many things that you need to have in place. So simplicity is, in my opinion,
I think simplicity comes together. Like what you're basically describing is also high demand.
Yeah, high demand is super important. And of course, like even another one is important, is like a trend, but this is almost impossible, I would say, to achieve, to have like a product that's in high demand and problem solving and enables a lot of emotional triggers and is on a trend.
So you should create the hype yourself.
Yeah, you should
by following those 4 pillars, right?
But we also jumped on a trend, because barefoot shoes were not a trend before when we started out, and we actually made it a trend by having a lot of ad spend behind our advertisement and behind our creators and funnels, which we will come back to in a bit. So I think that is also very important to have these in place. Do you think there are any other things that are very mandatory in order to validate your product?
Well, obviously the ideal scenario is to have basically your product or niche is following all of these 4 or 5 points which we just outlined, right? But it could be possible that your product is not evergreen, but you might can split it up in different collections. That is also fine. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that it requires all of the points we are outlining, but it would be a very great scenario, because we do believe that this could accelerate your brand growth from the beginning, and you basically have the wind from behind.
Yeah, I think also, of course, you want your product to be for a specific age group, but having the possibility to expand to multiple age groups is really important, because then eventually you can have more presence on different social channels, which will come back later. So I think having like, I don't know how you call it, like having different age groups possible within your product niche.
So, being a brand for everyone, but I feel that first you need to narrow it down to specific age groups, and once you have create authority, you have create awareness, then you could expand into different age groups, right?
Yeah.
For example, take Whoop as an example. First they focus only on health conscious people, but now they are slowly building out towards an older generation as well, because I see that friends of my parents, they're also wearing it just to track the steps, because they have a lot of new functions as well in the application.
Yeah, it was first only like very, very health focused for like people who are doing high performance trainings and stuff.
So the takeaway here is that it would be ideal that you have a brand which could eventually serve products for every age group out there, but it doesn't necessarily have to mean that it is the case from the beginning. Because in the beginning, when you really want to approach certain demographics or audiences, you can really narrow it down to, for example, the senior audience, or to the millennials or Gen X, or whatever you want to target or is relevant to your brand.
Yeah.
But I think...
Yeah, so for this one, it's really important that you have to be able to sell it also in the 4 different seasons. Like it's evergreen, but also make sure like that you can build up collections that can be launched in the 4 seasons that we have. That it must be in high demand, because if it's in high demand, of course, you're able to sell it much easier to a larger group of people. Emotional triggers can be very diverse, but eventually you can create amazing marketing strategies around these emotional triggers if you also implement the problem-solving solutions.
And then we come to direct response, right? And that is directly...
Yeah, so that is the second point actually we want to outline. That's the black stift. So product and niche is mandatory in the beginning. that you have done proper research about this. So you need to make sure you put a lot of time in what niche and product you're going to use. Eventually, you have to test a lot. You have to test different marketing strategies, different angle points, different audiences, because then once you have found product market fit, you can double down on what's really working. So how can you find product market fit is of course through marketing. And we really like the idea of direct response marketing. So what does direct response marketing mean? Well, it means that people take direct action after seeing your ad. So actually, person A sees your ad, and immediately after, he or she is going to buy your product or take action by going to the website, signing him or herself up, etc. So how does this actually work? Well, these marketing creatives are crafted that you incentivize them that they have to take action after the video. So you enable certain emotional triggers in the video, you explain the root cause of the problem, you will eventually have a call to action button, and much more. So that is in quick what direct response is, and we're going to outline
the entire funnel, right?
Yeah, the entire funnel that we used to implement direct response marketing. So it all starts off with the creative itself. So this is like the video or the photo ad that you will see on Pinterest, Facebook, native ads, Meta, Applovin, all the platforms. So you can divide creatives in 3 to 4 different things, I would say.
Different creative types basically. So what do you have? You have VSL, a video sales letter, which is very effective when it comes to direct response marketing, as Ola already said, because you could really express the inspirational and emotional tone in it, where you basically inform the customer so at a stage that eventually they are convinced to buy. But that definitely need to align in the entire funnel. So you have VSL, then you have obviously UGC, which became more popular over the past few years, and then you have basically images, which is called statics in the direct response world. So you have statics.
Yeah, and of course, guys, like the photo ads and static ads can be different, right? You have testimonial static ads, you have USP focused static ads where you really outline the things that are great about your product. You have tons of different
carousels.
Carousels. You have tons of different ones in these creatives. Same for VSLs. You have short format, long format, more informative ones, more educational ones, some more like focused on pain points itself. So you can diversify a lot within these 3 creatives, but it's important that you get all of these on scale and you use them to advertise your product. So also for UGC, it can be a testimonial, a personal story, it can be a comparison with a competitor that the person shows product A and product B. I think...
if we come back to the first one, statics, what was very effective for us from the beginning, because we actually look today to the first static we run on high scale. And what I noticed from it, that it has a few certain elements. First of all, it has like a very powerful statement or headline. So for example, in our case, like one of the audiences we have is neuropathy, right? Then we have relief neuropathy within 30 days. Obviously, we don't make claims that it will be solved or it will disappear, but always talk more of a little bit less aggressive. And then we have 4 USPs from the product itself. And then in the bottom of the static, we have basically the offer. So it basically follows a very clear framework where you basically first make a statement so people feel related to the static. Then you have the USP, so they understand why it could potentially solve the challenges they are currently facing. And then on bottom of the static, you have the offer, and that is basically the trigger and the CTA why they will click on it and go to the next pre-landing page.
Yeah, I think it's also important to know that you have different awareness stages from the audience that you target through these creatives, right? So for example, a VSL can be for a very cold audience. So an audience that is very unaware about the problem that they might have, or the product that you might advertise. So you can be very educational in these type of videos where you really educate the customer about what your product is, how it solves the problem that the customer has on a daily basis, etc. The static ads can explain the product a bit more. So people who are already problem aware but not product aware, you can explain the product really good in the static, right, with the USPs of the product itself. And in the UGC, eventually, you can make the customer, you can let them convert because you showcase a person who says like, hey, I use this product for 2 weeks, it helped me walk better, as an example, so they get convinced by the UGC itself.
It's all about social proof, right? Like people buy from people and people don't buy from companies nowadays.
Yeah. So is there anything you would like to add in terms of the creatives itself?
No. I think we outlined it pretty clear, so we can.
But you can go very, very deeply in terms of the creatives itself. As I said, look at the 5. I can do this one already. Look at the 5 awareness stages that you have, and you need to read the book Breakthrough Advertising. There is everything explained very well. Don't mind my typo. But the 5 awareness stages are really important to look at, and make sure you build creatives around those 5 awareness stages and do proper research about where your audience lies the most. So for some brands, as an example for beauty again, girls, women are already aware about foundation, how it will help them. But so you don't need to have you don't want to convince people that are super unaware, but you can just focus on advertising your product in that awareness stage.
Exactly. So if you're following these principles, you're most likely gonna increase your CTR, your click-through rate, and then people will be directed to the next page, right? So often the outdated strategy is that brands following a certain workaround where they direct them directly to the PDP. But we do use pre-landing pages, and pre-landing pages can be divided under listicles. Often we do consider this as a top 5, top 7 or top 10 reasons. You have advertorials, short format and long format advertorials. This could be a personal story, or this could be a advertorial or like an article kind of format where you really educate the customer and inspire them to purchase without any aggressive offers or without discount badges or whatever. That could be all in the bottom of the advertorial or article. So you really have to imagine that if you are just reading an article in a magazine or whatever, there is like barely a CTA, right? Because it's an article, it's like informative. So that is how you would like to express yourself as a brand as well. So your customer feels it's very organic and raw and written by a by
a real person.
Yeah, or by a public, how do you call that? A krant?
Newspaper.
Yeah,
or
newspaper.
like that. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, but listicles is very important. Advertorial, we have quiz as well. Comparisons where you're gonna showcase your competitors and explain why you are the best. And a personal story, which I'll come back to later. So was there anything you would like to explain about the listicle?
Yeah, well, look, if you have people, you have made them aware and they have showed interaction on the creative side and they have already choose to click on it and go to the listicle. The listicle is just there to convince people to buy. You give them basically a couple reasons why this product is the solution for their problems or challenges, right? Mm-hmm. So this is a very easy way to quickly convince your customer on the pre-landing page because they are already aware of the product most likely, and if you have some nice GIFs and visuals, people are just feeling warm about it and they think like, okay, this is the final trigger, I want to have this product right now. So this is very different compared to an advertorial, and this is often also more effective for brands who don't need to explain much on their product. So for example, we in the footwear niche, in the end of the day, it's just a shoe. Yes, we do solve a lot of problems, but it doesn't need an entire long format advertorial with a lot of educational kind of content on it, because that is simply not our niche. But if you are, for example, in let me give you an example of a back massager, for example. This is really solving the lower back issue from elderly patients in the US, and they might facing like huge issues right now, and they have tried tons of different solutions, but basically nothing didn't really work out. Then they might be feel skeptical, right? Especially when they see a product which they cannot buy on Amazon or whatever it is. So they really want to be educated, and they want to understand why this product could work for them. So then a long format advertorial could be very efficient.
Yeah, I wrote down the 5 awareness stages. So you have unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and aware. It is really important that you don't send all the traffic from each awareness stage to a pre-lender. Why? It's because the people who are already fully aware about your product, about your solution, about the problem that you solve, they want to be sent to an offer page because you want to convince them on what you have to offer. So on the pricing, on the product itself, how does it look like, etc. So especially unaware, problem aware, and solution aware people you want to send to pre-lenders. Product aware you could also do, but fully aware I would not recommend. And this is typically also like retargeting or people who already bought from a competitor or anything related to that. So that is really important to note as well about these awareness stages.
Definitely. So what is the best creative type if people are already problem or product aware?
So if people are already product aware, I would say UGC or a specific static that has like a statement. A statement could be very good.
Yeah,
definitely.
or like scarcity in it.
A scarcity could also be good, or like a person, for example, holding the product and then with the USPs again, so they get reminded of a person who wears it, where they can resonate with USPs of the product again, from hey, oh yeah, this was the product, like how it was working, and then boom, send it to the product page, or a pre-lender, depending also again on how the creative looks. So let your creative strategist, or if you are still your own creative strategist, decide him or herself where the creative needs to be sent towards to, because that is very mandatory instead of just letting the media buyer decide that. So you already talked about list goal and advertorial.
Yeah,
right?
I think this is pretty clear right now. So you go from creative, like the funnel is basically the first one, the first interaction is creative, then they go to the pre-lender. I showed you just here the number one way of pre-landing pages we do use is listicles. Number two is personal stories is very effective, and I have like a shared place on number three because advertorials, quizzes, and comparison are sometimes performing, but most often we have to figure out with multiple A/B tests or it's really going to be profitable. But especially listicles are very effective.
Yeah, you talked about personal story, how we do that?
No, not at all.
So I can explain it very quickly. So you can have, for example, a person, you can find a creator, and you can make a specific dedicated page after this person, their creative. So let's say I'm a creator, I'm creating a video why people should buy this phone. Then after I made the video of explaining it, they go to a pre-lender where I'm again explaining, hey, I'm Ole, I bought this phone 1 year ago, I'm super happy, it changed my life. So people feel really engaged with this person. This is a very effective way that everybody can use. Well, a quiz is more for people to discover for themselves that they have the problem. So this is very good for unaware people or people who are only problem aware, because then they have to fill in like, okay, I'm Ole.
And you also personalize it a lot, right?
Yeah.
So people
so you say like,
they feel like I'm getting a personalized offer in the end of the funnel, of the end of the quiz. So you have a questionnaire of 5 to 10 questions, depending also on your product, of course. But if you have walked through all of the questions, you basically got the perfect product in the end of the quiz. And then people feel, okay, this really could be the solution and I need to have it now. And then in the end of the quiz, you also have like scarcity with a countdown bar, of course, of maybe 5 or 10 minutes. So they really feel the urgency and they really want to grab the product, and that is actually where you want to have them. And then you know that you have done a very good job in your entire funnel. So I think the last thing what I would like to add over here is that UGC could be also divided with whitelisted ads, and then we also come to personal stories, because whitelisted ads is basically that you partner up with a ambassador or a influencer, and you basically run shared ads on Meta and IG, and this increased authority a lot, right? Because all of these brands out there, and especially dropshippers, always advertising from their main page. But if they know that you have a collaboration and a shared partnership, basically, that brings a lot of authority to the creative, especially if you're gonna collaborate with people who are well known within your audience. So if you have, for example, a celebrity or an athlete or whatever it is. So that is just an amazing way how you also could increase CTRs and lower CPCs.
Yeah, that's actually like the pretenders and the creators will result eventually in very low CPMs and CPC, so you get more traffic for a cheaper amount actually. And like make sure you stack, of course, your pretender as well already with a bit of guarantees and the value of the offer. But eventually that all needs to come down into the PDP, and that is
the product page.
Yeah, so what is
there
really...
the magic needs to happen.
Yeah, so what is really important to have on the product page? So what is like some things that you need to have very clear? So in my opinion, the first one is, of course,
the offer.
The offer itself.
Well, this one sounds very straightforward, but the add to cart button and the CTAs.
I wrote down guarantees.
Yeah, multiple CTAs.
And social proof.
Payment options where they can relate to.
Can people read it?
Yeah, easy. Payment options where the people, what we say, where they can relate to. And for one last time, you could also add all of the features and USPs of your product once again. So this really will convince them to click on this CTA button to go to the cart page and eventually go over to a purchase.
Yeah,
so this is basically how the funnel should looks like if you're running a direct response brand. I think
urgency.
Indeed, pretty straightforward.
And one more.
I think the PDP is one of the most easy things from the entire funnel, if I speak for myself.
So let's go quickly through it. The offer needs to be, of course, the pricing and what you eventually add to the product itself. Make sure to stack this one. Try to add as much value as possible in the offer so people feel like they get your product or service for a bargain. And they almost feel like stupid saying no. Guarantees is more what can you offer. So as an example, you can have guarantees like, okay, 30-day guarantee, you can have free shipping, you can have
free returns,
all those stuff, again, will help in increasing the conversion rate. A CTA, have clear CTAs. So typically this is just make sure your add to cart button has a specific color that people see, so it triggers an emotion or an action in their brain that they need to take action.
Same for sticky A to C. So if they are going to scroll down on the PDP, make sure that the add to cart button becomes always visible. So people are not just getting distracted by all of the social proof and comparison and reviews elements you have on your PDP, but make sure that they always have to get the option to press on the A to C button and eventually go over to a purchase.
Yeah, so social proof, pretty easy. Make sure you have your reviews clear, you have great photos, not photos about only the product, but also people using the product. That is very important. Payments, super easy. Make sure that you have all the local payments of each specific country. So if you're selling in Germany, make sure you have SoFort, Klarna, PayPal, and credit card. And for US, just PayPal, credit card, maybe Afterpay as well.
ShowPay, of course.
ShowPay. USPs
are very similar to what you would express in statics.
Yeah.
That's how we actually started. Like the statics we run, we also had them on the PDP because we know it's very effective in order to convert. Obviously now we need to differentiate because otherwise it's a little bit poor, I would say. But just have for like couple USPs from your product. Then the urgency, of course, to eventually really let them feel stupid if they run out of time and basically are not able to secure the product you have.
Yeah, so a timer in the cart page, a timer in the checkout, make sure like the offer is only available this week, this month, this day.
And the scarcity is pretty straightforward. We always have just like a few items left, depending also on inventory levels. Like for some new releases, we try to avoid that, of course, and we are just transparent about the actual stock levels. But because of pressure on supply chain, we often only have like 2,000 or 3,000 pieces available at a first batch when we launch a new product. So we are really out of stock very soon after a product launch. So enough about it.
Yeah, this is pretty good. This is a lot of valuable information that you can definitely implement. So let's come back to the 4 pillars. So we had product and niche, direct response marketing, and then the third one is omnichannel. So this was actually a big leverage for our business. So what we will explain in this pillar is mainly what are the channels that we are using, how do we recommend using them, like step by step, and also depending on the awareness stage of the customer that you're targeting. And yeah, more on that. So omnichannel, which channels do we have? So we have, of course, Meta, the most important one. So we have Meta. Meta is, of course, Facebook and Instagram. It is the platform that has the most data about you because they, of course, everybody shares their information on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on Instagram. So they know everything about you. So it's really easy for them to target the ideal customer if they see your ad.
And they have the most users, right? So
Yeah.
It's also like it gives you the opportunity to accelerate your brand from the beginning and really express the direct response principles and let people buy impulsively. And that's actually what you need before you're gonna expand to platforms which are more focused on search or maybe more on retention, where people come specifically for a certain product, for example. Like on Meta, you have to imagine that people are just gonna scroll because they are very addicted to the platform and they're very addicted to dopamine and they want to know what's currently going on in this world, right? And then it's your task basically to being so unique in your marketing efforts that they getting triggered by your creative type and eventually click on it because they feel that they are getting targeted by it. So that's why Meta, it has like the biggest leverage of all of the other platforms in our opinion. There are some brands, especially the older brands, who are running very successful on other channels like Google, but especially when you're starting out, you want to start through Meta because you can express very good like bottom top funnel, which Ole is going to explain over here.
Yeah, guys, so you of course might familiar with this one. You have top of funnel, you have middle of funnel, and you have bottom of funnel. So what does this mean? People come in, people come in at the top, right? They see your ad, they come in at the top. So this platform, Meta especially, gets new people, new customers, new watchers into your business and into your, how do you call this, like the pyramid actually. So that's where they get the first interaction with your brand. This is typically on Meta because they just have a really large amount of users that use the platform. Then you have middle of funnel, which is typically sub channels like Pinterest, TikTok could also be, Google can also be a middle of funnel, but I would say it's more like bottom of funnel because people have very warm searches over there. But this is where people get another interaction with your brand on, it could be on Meta itself as well, but typically on a different channel. And then you have bottom of funnel as well, and this is where people really make the decision to search for your brand, search for your product, and want to make a purchase. So this is typically, for example, on Google, where people search, hey, I want to buy an iPhone. They search on Google iPhone, then it immediately pops up. Or for example, top of funnel could be a billboard in Apple, their case. So that comes down to the second channel as well, which is Google. And this is more bottom of funnel.
What is our philosophy on this is that you first need to master these two for your D2C brand before you're gonna expand to other channels, because every channel requires your time, energy, and effort, right? So these two here have the most potential. So you could easily run at 50K a day consistently before you're gonna expand to other channels. Could be also on 30 or 40K, depending a little bit on the brand again, but we did follow this. We did 30K on Meta quite fast. Then we had some GMC issues, but as soon as we were onboarded at Google, we start running on it because it's very good for retargeting as well. You have brand search, you have shopping ads, you have tons of other things like display ads. Then we expanded rapidly to Pinterest because it's a very easy setup, and often we just duplicate all of the creative types we run on Meta. From there, we basically expanded to native, and if you go back to the product and niche, we do love to have like a niche which validates and has potential to run profitable on all of these platforms. And native is very good for the direct response marketing way. So with pre-landing pages, with listicles, where you really educate customers, because what falls below native ads, what kind of publishers do they have? MSN, Outlook, they have Yahoo, they have Apple News recently. So there people really, like often they are also in desktop, and that's why we run very profitable on desktop as well. But people have more time, you know, they are not chasing quick dopamine, they are really coming there to read something, to search something, to write an email to friends or family. They have the time, and when you have like a great trigger or a great article and they have time to read it, then you really can educate them properly before they go over to your P2P, which we just explained in the funnel we outlined.
Yeah, so we have AppLovin as well. This is a platform where you can target people who are on gaming apps especially. This is more top of funnel as well, but I would say also mid of funnel.
It's mid of funnel, definitely.
Yeah, so this is again a platform that people can use. I think it's great to quickly run through them all so people understand it. Criteo is more bottom of funnel. This platform has more display locations than Google has for their display ads, so you can target a bit more with Criteo.
So let me give you an example. Like I think that a lot of people within our audience, and they are looking here, are football or following football as well. So we have live score, flash score. They have all of these placements. So when you're basically looking how much your football club have played last week or Champions League, then you are popping up there, and they are very, very good in retention, so in retargeting. So if you have showed one interaction on Meta or Google and you go to one of the publishers Criteo have, most likely your product will show up over there.
So a good thing is to write down is people buy after 7 times seeing your ad. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so they see it first on Meta, then they see it on Pinterest, then maybe on native, then maybe on AppLovin, then they get targeted by Criteo and they think, I'm not convinced. And then they think, okay, maybe I'm just going to search it myself on Amazon. And then they buy.
That is like an ideal scenario, but often they will get interacted 3 times at Meta, then 1 time at Pinterest, and they purchase through Google. Like it could be very...
Exactly, but you don't want to expand very rapidly to different kind of channels, because you have to understand each channel has different awareness stages for the customer again. So that's why it's really important to know where your customer is hanging out about these 5 awareness stages, because on Meta you could implement all these 5, but for example on Criteo you could not do very unaware ads, right? So that is really important to understand before expanding to different different channels, and make sure the mix is correct, right? So don't overspend on specific platforms that are doing a lot of bottom of funnel. Make sure to always keep focusing on top of funnel when you're scaling your brand, because you want to always have your new customer ROAS up. It's really important, because we made this mistake. We got a lot of new customers in last year and we didn't take a look at the graph about how many new customers were coming in, and therefore eventually our returning customers went up, but our new customers went down, and that's where we struggled with getting new customers into our business.
We didn't apply this principle, so we basically start to allocate more budgets to the profitable campaigns, but we were not aware that the profitable campaigns on Meta were spending on the bottom funnel.
Yeah.
So these were very warm customers, have showed maybe interaction for more than 10 or 20 times, or might even have purchased at our store already. And we start to scale budgets on Meta on bottom top funnel. So this is a big mistake we have made, and therefore now all of our direct response marketing efforts, which we just explained, are focused on top of funnel. Why? Because that is where new customers could be potentially acquired, and we do love to have new customers because we have the right retention strategies in place, but also the right retention platforms in place that once we have targeted them once, that they will come back regardless.
Yeah.
So,
and this is also the point, the last one, email and SMS. This one is very big, and this is of course mainly for bottom of funnel people who already interacted with your brand, or even people who subscribe to your email but want to be educated more, because we also educate within our emails. But we're gonna come back on this point in a bit, because the last pillar that we're gonna talk about is retention actually. So
I think we have showed enough value over here. I think it's pretty straightforward for the people.
yeah,
And before they are getting overwhelmed, I want to go to retention.
Okay,
because that is actually where the real profits are being made for your brand. And that's also why branding really differentiated himself from dropshippers out there, because branding is all about retention, right? Yes. And this is actually have become one of my favorite parts. I just made a tweet about it last week, is that I didn't even know what retention meant 2 years ago. And nowadays we are clocking in over 3 million consistently on retention revenue alone through email and SMS and retargeting campaigns.
So if you say retention, where do you think about directly?
Email, SMS, just great tools to approach your customers once again. That are the main streams actually to approach your customers. But another one, a very innovative retention strategy, is to have thank you cards, have guideline or manuals in your packaging with QR codes to send them to community, etc. So we will dive deeper into this. But also what is a great way is that is not really a platform, but what could increase your retention rate is that you're consistently developing products based on the feedback of your customers, or you bringing out limited edition variants, or you make small, slightly iterations from your hero products. So people really want to have it, right? Because myself, I feel very stupid. I just bought the iPhone 16, meanwhile the iPhone 15, and basically there is barely any, I'm not aware about what are the new features or updates on it, but I'm still buying it because some dude out there in a restaurant told me it has a better camera, so I wanted to have it. And that is exactly how people think about your products as well.
Yeah, so email is really important. We do this all mainly through Klaviyo, and you can have, of course, different kind of flows within here. So for the emails, you have, of course, the abandoned checkout flows, the post-purchase flows, the campaigns that you're sending on the holidays. And I think this one is pretty straightforward for a lot of people. Like email marketing is pretty easy, but it's a huge driver for the business, because here you can either pull the trigger for some people who are not ready to buy, but you convince them because you provide, for example, a discount code in the SMS or in the email, or maybe because the email is just very good looking. Same for the SMS, which is actually just a different retention strategy, but it has the same purpose. Actually, another fun one that we tried but was not super successful, but could maybe for your brand, is direct mail. We will come back to that later.
It could be, but we need to work it out in a great manner.
Yeah, for us as well.
It needs to have more attention. But we know that there are brands in our space who have like 15% of their total revenue attributed through direct mail. So these are considered physical cards, which you just send to the address of your customers, and that could be educational, but often it's just like promotional. And what I do feel personally is that there is a huge leverage for us if we have like educational kind of postcards.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So about SMS, it just has a high delivery rate, but again, it's also
It depends a little bit how you treat it, because often brands, D2C brands, apply post-purchase flows through SMS, but people are getting very tired of it, right? Especially the new generation. So if you have like a very young customer audience, then most likely the open rate on the SMS is very low. But if you have like an older audience or the senior audience, then the SMS open rate is very high, because older people are still very used to it, right? And if they are getting an SMS and they don't have many people in their contact list, they think, hey, what is this? I'm going to open this. And often older people also have the time for it. So we do not milk this one out, and we try to avoid to have any flows set up. So we only apply SMS more of a joker during holiday seasons or during new product or collection launches. And that is actually where is a huge leverage for us. And when we send out the email, we have at least $60,000 to $80,000 in revenue. So yeah, that is pretty insane, to be honest.
Yeah, so the other one we have is loyalty. Loyalty can be some loyalty programs you can implement in your business. People can interpret this one in different ways. So either you can collect points when you are making a purchase, so you stack up the points, and once you reach X amount, you can get free shipping or get a free product on your next purchase. So that can be a huge trigger for people to get or to make another purchase. But also can be loyalty programs. And how we implement that is that we send 15 days, or it can be 20 days after the product arrives, we give a discount code that is valid for only 10 days. So that means people are probably happy after they receive the product 15 to 20 days. So then you give and you say to them, hey, I hope you like your product, here is 10% discount, but you can only use it for 10 days. So they need to act quickly on it, and this also lets people buy more product. Maybe they had a normal shoe, now they want a winter shoe, as an example.
So speaking about loyalty programs, I think gift cards are even more familiar. Do we do anything with gift cards?
Yeah, we have gift cards available on the store, so that one is definitely working for us. But it's not that we heavily advertise on it or...
The nice thing from gift cards is if people are adding it to their shopping cart, often they not redeem.
Oh, there's a study that's being done that like literally 50% is not being redeemed. So we have, I believe, 30K on gift cards and only 15K is redeemed. So that means 15K pure profit without doing anything. And I know it myself. I have a Foot Locker gift card from when I was 15 years old. It was maybe $50, never used. But it's a free $50 for Foot Locker, and it's already expired, the card.
It's pure profit for the company, right?
Yeah.
So the next one is community.
Yeah, community building. So this can be done in different ways. Of course, we know one of the biggest brands like Gymshark is building a community. This other brand Represent as well, who has a run club. So those are also brands who are building communities, and this way you make people feel like they're part of a group, of a team, and of a movement.
But we do it slightly different because they have public community and we have it more of in a private way.
Yeah, we have an online community, so when people buy our products, they can join our community, and here they can talk with each other about the problems that they have, or maybe the solutions that they have tried for their problems that also worked, or we will share also things about our business, new releases. We ask for feedback.
So they can spar with each other and they are actually feeling heard, right? Especially when you solve a problem and people have like some challenges in their daily life, then they can just spar with each other and it feels like very much a community. But why this is actually important for retention is because in the community, we also inform the customer very well about the products or about the features, or we ask for feedback on new product launches or how should we develop our future products. And often they also got the chance to have like 24-hour early access to certain launches. And often they also have like more discount for this. So that's why retention is also why community is actually part of the entire retention strategy.
You get direct data from the community, from real life customers. So you can implement it for new marketing strategies, product development, which is this one, You can just have feedback from your business in general. Hey, like for example, I could not search a specific product, or the navigation was not good. You can just implement it as feedback. So the best way of getting feedback is having a community. So I think this one is really powerful, and implement it for your brand, like how it would, the best way for your customers. Because for some brands, a physical community is mandatory, and for some brands, it's not mandatory at all. So the second one is cards.
The fifth one.
The fifth one, second one. So the fifth one is cards. We actually talked already about this one. This is more about you already explained it right. We give like a thank you code.
I think nowadays everyone is doing that. So you have like a thank you card, but if your product has like some educational background, or there is some educational background required, you could add like a guideline or like a manual where you explain the features of the product. And always we have the QR codes in those kind of packages or cards. So there's another reason for customers to go to your store, and that's actually where you want to have them, right? Even if they are not going to a purchase, the Safari of the browser understands that you have showed interaction with this particular web shop, and therefore later on they got retargeted by the channels you are running on. So they basically can't miss, they can't walk away from your brand, and that's exactly where you want to have them. Like I always said, I prefer always like to have as much visitors as possible, because if your store is still in their browser, like those platforms, they will read it and they will understand that you have showed in some way interest in this particular brand or product. So it's gonna compound over time through all these channels, and that's why you want to be visible everywhere, and that's why you want to increase eyeballs at all costs. It definitely need to align with your brand. Like I know friends, they have very exclusive brands, and therefore they don't like to represent themselves on marketplaces like Amazon, because as you know, Amazon have a lot of resellers and they just import also on China and often also white label. So that's why they don't want to be connected to platforms like that. But for us, Amazon is very effective, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And also to acquire new customers, where we just spoke about.
Yeah. So the other one is product development. I think it's very important that eventually, if you want to increase retention, you have to be focusing on product development. First of all, to attract new audiences, because if you develop a new product that is great for your current customer base, but could also expand your target audience, that would be very great. So we can explain the product. You can make this. You want to make the circle where you do like total addressable market.
Yeah,
that one is also good. So new products will eventually lead to new customers and also other audiences. Again, if we give fashion as an example, some people want to buy a summer jacket. So you have a summer jacket brand, but if you're going to release a winter jacket brand, you will target a completely new audience for people who want to buy winter jackets. So you increase your target audience, and maybe even the people who already bought the summer jacket want to also have the winter jacket. So then you have a double win. So that is super important to do by releasing new products to target new audiences, and again, get the information from the community of what the new products needs to be, or from the communities that there are about your audience, or maybe the reviews that you see on Amazon or on Quora or on Reddit and everything. That is really important to do. And the other one is iterate on heroes. So you have product one, and just make sure to implement the feedback from the reviews in the community, and therefore create product two. So for example, you were selling a shoe, it was super good, but people really wanted waterproof function. So you release shoe two, but it only has a waterproof feature. Again, you would target a completely new audience again.
What you often can put behind the product name is Pro or Plus or like look or Max, like how Apple do it and how basically everyone do it, right?
Yeah. So what about this? Because this is pretty clear, I think.
This one we have already explained, right? Direct mail. So then when it comes to product development, as Ole said, you really can encounter new audiences. And eventually, if you have done already 9 figures in revenue, for example, it becomes harder and harder to target people within specific audiences because your frequency is gonna increase and there is basically no people anymore in the market or within the specific audience. So that's why you want to expand into different categories, and this needs to be applicable for your brand. For some brands it's just not applicable because they're, for example, a one product brand, or they have a very specific feature which cannot be applied into different categories. But if you are, for example, in fashion, which we are, we can expand rapidly into different categories. So obviously you have normal footwear, you have winter footwear, you have sandals, you have slippers, you have home sandals. So we could expand rapidly, and that way you're gonna increase your total addressable market. And this one is very important because if you know exactly how big your TAM is, your total pool, the total market pool you could potentially target, you also know how much you could potentially sell within a specific time frame. So that's why you want to expand rapidly to categories, and that's what we are currently doing because it just increases our total addressable market. And out of this total addressable market, also our total serviceable market is gonna increase, right? To who you actually could serve and sell, because eventually all these people which you can address are not willing to buy because you are still might be not have the right products in store. But from there you can rapidly map it out into the serviceable addressable market, and then you know exactly how much people potentially could buy from you. Yeah. And this is only gonna this is something you want to have as big as possible, because then your brand could also grow as hard as possible.
Yeah, I think we explained quite a lot. So coming back, we have the 4 pillars to achieve 9 figures in revenue: product and niche, which is this one, where you need to have high demand, you need to have problem-solving product, you need to be evergreen and target emotional triggers. We have the second one, direct response marketing, which is this one, which I think is the most important one actually, because if you have a shit product and great marketing, you can sell it, but if you have a great product and shit marketing, you cannot sell it. Then we have the third one, which is Omnichannel, so the channels where you are targeting the specific people. And then last but not least, we have the retention strategy. So once people are in your business, how can you convert them again to make another purchase? And yeah, so we tell a lot more about this in detail within our communities as well. And I think it's mandatory to implement this eventually to scale to 9 figures or beyond.
Yes, these were one of the main pillars in order to achieve what we have achieved so far. So let us know in the comments or this was valuable, and let us also know on what topics we should focus on the future, because obviously this is great, but there are a lot of other things involved as well in order to achieve this 100 million mark. That could be like the overall brand messaging, the brand appearance, brand marketing, PR, supply chain. There are a lot of other things as well.
This is also not even like completely written down. Like
but it's just like global, so people have a good understanding about what are the main pillars in order to drive success for their brand and accelerate from the very early stages, which is something everyone desires.
But this is definitely 1 million of free game that we had to figure out the hard way and need to pay a lot of money for and need to invest a lot of time into. So take your notes, guys. Happy scaling. Be on attack mode and
be on attack mode. We're gonna work. Ciao.
See you guys in the next one. Bye.